We're far enough into the season now that excuses are starting to run out. New signings have settled, managers have had time, systems are well and truly in place and have been learnt. And yet some players just haven't delivered. Today I'm going through the most disappointing Premier League players so far this season. Not necessarily the worst players, but disappointing. That came with big expectations, it was their big year, and performances just haven't matched it. And as always, if you disagree with any of these, get in the comments and tell me why. There's going to be some debatable ones. There's going to be some that I've missed. So yeah, you know how it is, lads. Get in the comments. Give your opinion. I'm replying to every single comment. And let's get into the video. Kicking us off, we've got Anthony Elanga. And I think when it was announced that Newcastle were making the signing, it kind of surprised a few people who'd watched him last season for Forest. Don't get me wrong. He had a great campaign. He scored 6 goals. Got 11 assists. And obviously Forest went on to get Conference League, but obviously it was promoted to Europa League. But what shocked most people was the style of play change. I mean, Elanga looked great in a system that Nuno had set up where Forest would sat back. They had Murillo and Milenkovic like eating every ball up that came into the box, and they were hitting on the break with Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs-White, and Elanga with Chris Wood in somewhat of a purple patch, putting the ball in the back of the net seemingly every time. So yeah, it was a change because you go from that into Newcastle under Eddie Howe, and they don't play that style. Yes, they have pace on the wings. We see that with Gordon, and a little bit of Barnes. But the wingers are required to do a lot more technically, I feel, in that Newcastle side, because yeah, they're playing against a lot more low blocks. They're playing against teams at St James's which aren't necessarily going to come out and attack them. And when Elanga loses that threat in behind, is he going to put a ball on the plate for Wissa or Voltemade every single time? I don't know. Look, it might just be a season of getting used to a new club. His new teammates, obviously, and the whole new environment. But this season he's got no goals and 1 assist in 18 Premier League games at the time of recording. And let's be honest, it is disappointing. It is. There's no other way to put it. Next up, I've gone for Ollie Watkins. And look, I'm a Villa fan, so I will stand here and say, Ollie Watkins has been a great player for us. He's been a great servant for the club. And he is not a bad striker. He offers a lot up front. Whether it's stretching the defence, getting in behind, causing a threat. But my God, he's been disappointing for us this season. My problem with Watkins has always been, and many Villa fans would agree, is that he almost needs 4 or 5 golden chances in a game to take 1. He's not very clinical, and he's almost a better player when the ball just lands at his feet and he has no time to think about it than when he's breaking through one-on-one. When he has 5-10 seconds to think about what he's going to do, he usually, messes it up or puts it wide or whatever, or puts it straight at the goalkeeper. So I'm not trying to bash Ollie, but in a summer which was very turbulent for us, and you saw the start to the season that we had, we're very much relying on the old guard this season. I'm talking relying on Watkins, Mings, Martinez, McGinn, Tielemans, the boys who have been here for a few years now. We're relying on all of them to step up, and Cash has stepped up. McGinn has stepped up in various parts of the season. Mings, when Torres got injured, stepped up. It almost felt like Watkins didn't. And look, he's not getting any younger. We know that. There's links to their Mateta coming in and Tammy Abraham. So yeah, Ollie Watkins has been great for us. He's our Premier League all-time leading goal scorer. But to say he's been disappointing this season has been a real understatement. Next up, I've gone with Igor Jesus. And I feel like when I'm talking about each player, I'm trying to make an excuse to them first. But it goes without saying that Igor Jesus has been one of the most isolated players this season in the league. You look at the stats, nobody gets the ball in the striker position less than him. And like I was saying with Elanga earlier, that's what Forest do. Forest sit back, especially in the Dyche now. They're not going to be a free-flowing, knocking the ball around the edge of the box kind of team. But when Forest brought in Jesus from Botafogo in the summer, there was like a genuine excitement about adding a dynamic attacker to a squad heading into Premier League and European challenges, especially building on the season that they had last year. However, it's kind of unfolded into a really underwhelming season relative to those expectations. The numbers don't lie. The Brazilian scored 1 goal in the campaign. Yes, he's got a few in Europa, fair enough. But he's made 21 Premier League appearances now, and 1 goal is not going to cut it as a top striker in this league. He's 24, he's not exactly young either, he's not 19, he's not bursting onto the scene. And when you consider that Chris Wood netted 20 goals in 36 matches with pretty much, other than Elanga, the same attacking midfield behind him, it does put it into perspective. Forest fans are desperate for goals. I mean, they're deep in what seems to be a straight relegation scrap with West Ham. I don't think anybody really expected him to set the world alight. And if Chris Wood hadn't got injured, he probably wouldn't have played as many games, or we expected to play as many games, and they would have eased him in. But in the short, yeah, it's been disappointing. It's not that he lacks talent, because he doesn't. He's clearly a good player. He's shown that in sparks in the Europa League. it just hasn't translated into the talent that a consistent Premier League forward needs to have, and I really hope he can step up, but he has been very disappointing this season. Fourth on my list, I've gone with Konate. And Konate came into the season still regarded as one of the better centre-backs in Europe. Many Liverpool fans were worried about him leaving on a free to Real Madrid at the end of the season, but those concerns have quickly washed away, and many would be encouraging him to go. He's been really, really poor. This campaign has been a complete struggle, and his form, especially from last season, has just diminished. A lot of the time it's looked like he simply isn't interested. I mean, maybe his head's somewhere else, I don't know. Maybe he's already accepted that he's leaving on a free. But simple things like giving up a chase back, being caught in no man's land, ball watching, things that last season wouldn't have really happened. It's not just fans saying it. In Liverpool's 3-0 loss to an out-of-form Nottingham Forest in November, Konate was given one of the lowest ratings on the pitch as part of a defence that looked completely lost. And the worrying part is that these just aren't isolated flukes. There's been a pattern of high-profile mistakes and inconsistent defending this season from the Frenchman. The heavy 4-1 defeat in the Champions League to PSV when Liverpool were in that really poor run. That one stands out to me especially. Supporters and commentators have constantly singled him out. I don't blame them. He's been generally really poor. To me, the most telling thing is when the ball bounces. And usually a defender like that, in their absolute pomp, when they're committed, would eat it up. And it feels like that's not happening anymore. Attackers are getting scraps, which they wouldn't have had before, from that Van Dijk-Konate partnership. Now, look, it's fair to say Liverpool's defence as a whole has been below par this season. We know that. Injuries to Frimpong early on, Bradley now. The team confidence just seems to be a little bit shaky. It was at rock bottom in November and October, but it seems to be a little bit shaky now, but better. But for a guy who's been rock solid for years now and considered a top defender, he's been absolutely dreadful this season and epitomises the word disappointing, I guess. And finally, I've gone with Victor Gyokeres. And look, this one sucks for me because I'll always have a soft spot for the bloke after me and him dominated the championship with Coventry on Football Manager. But that's besides the point. It's been a really tough watch. When he made the move, there was a feeling that he'd finally get the platform to show that he is a top-level striker. And it seemed like Arsenal were finally getting their striker, which every pundit, fan, football lover had said they needed. And look, he's got the physical tools. He looked quick in Portugal, strong and good at running the channels. And on paper, he's exactly the sort of forward you want leading the line. But this season, it just hasn't clicked in the way people would have hoped. And I honestly think that his biggest problem has been lack of service, which isn't always down to him. He spends long spells making runs to try and post up defenders, but the ball just doesn't arrive often or as cleanly as he'd like it. And when it does, that often leads to his second big issue, in my opinion, which is his first touch. It's too heavy. It bounces away from him. Many people have said it looks like he's playing in Timberlands, which is, it's quite funny. But yeah, I completely see what they're trying to say, though. Or it forces him wide and kills the chance before it even starts. And part of that is also down to how the team attacks. Take somebody like Saka, for example, who's constantly cutting in on their left foot, trying to get shots away, putting crosses to the back post. That's not what a striker like Gyokeres thrives off of. He thrives off the Ben White cross against Chelsea midweek, across the face of goal, in the 6-yard box, ready to tap in and poach. That's what Gyokeres wants, and that's just not how Arsenal play, unfortunately. And physically, he just doesn't look quite as sharp as before. He looks a little bit heavy, not quite as agile, not as explosive as he was. And at Championship and Portuguese League level, he can kind of get away with that and still overpower defenders. There was way more counter-attacking football back then. There was way more counter-attacking goals in those leagues. Not in this one. Every game Arsenal are playing, except for games against the likes of Man City and Liverpool, teams are forming low blocks. And that requires you to be a poacher, be technical. You ain't going to score many goals in the break at Arsenal Football Club these days. And you can see the frustration growing as well. He misses a couple of chances, his touch gets worse, his confidence starts dropping, and it can be a vicious cycle for a striker. And when your main job is scoring goals, everything else you do gets judged through that lens. So like you got Keown and you got Parler on TalkSport and Perry Groves trying to force the narrative that he's really good at dragging defenders. He's really good at doing this. He's really good at doing that. Yes, he is. He's an all-round great player. He's a great striker. You don't get signed for £65 million unless you are one. However, you've got to be sticking the ball in the back of the net, man. So yeah, I'll always have a soft spot for him. But it's been a disappointment from him this season. I think it would take a really, really devoted Arsenal fan to disagree with that. Thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you get in the comments. I want to see your opinions. I want to see what you agree with, disagree with. Get your list in there yourself. Let's talk about football. Even if you don't comment usually, or you're not a commenter, get down there, give your top 5, and I'll give you my opinion. Let's talk about football. That's what it's all about. So yeah, I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by April. It'd be great if you could subscribe. If not, I get it. Maybe leave a like if you're feeling generous. But yeah, thank you for watching. Have a fantastic week. And yeah, see you at the next video.